Hey, what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video. Today I'm going to show you how to do production style fast jigging hooks. And this isn't the standard that any particular company actually uses, but this is a way for you to standardize your assist hooks, at least for your fast jigging assist hooks. Now, I have an example of a jig here, but just to show you exactly how it fits. Okay, so see, it sits there. That's the position. Without measuring this jig, you're able to produce that type of fit. Is it optimized for the jig? Of course not, but it is semi-optimized for a jig or a range of jigs, and this is the object here. So you're doing something that all of these companies are actually doing, because let's take for example Owner or Shout or Decoy doesn't go out and measure all the jigs and then make the assist hook for each and every single one of them. They actually look for a common ground. So this is one of the ways where you are able to do something similar. Okay, now for the hook, we are actually using a pike from Decoy, and this is the JS3. It has an eye. That's a very important detail. Okay, it makes it kind of easy for us to just put things together with an eye. However, the same method can be applied when you're using spade head hooks. The assist cord that we're using today is the Blue Assist PE from Shout, and we are going to be using a number 6 welded ring from Bogey. Okay, so it's right here. So it's a number 6. And we're gonna splice this. Now this is 300 pound. When you're splicing this, what happens is that it doubles the strength. So you are looking at the neighborhood of about 600 pounds. There is no way you're going to break this on your own with your strength, because let's face it, even if you were a strong man, you know, one of those guys that like lift really big rocks and all that, you won't be able to cut this. Okay, realistically speaking, remember, you still have a rod to contend with, pulling it and all that. Your line will break before this would break. Okay, your arms would probably break before this breaks. Why am I saying this? Because there are alternatives such as where is that? There's assist cords that are bigger than this, that you know, if you double them up, they get to like way more than half a ton, and kind of not really necessary. I know that I've used you know, assist cords as thick as this, and that's probably about 700 pounds and stuff, or probably more, and when you double it up, that's like 1,400. It doesn't make sense. All right, so use the right size, and the right size is more often than not thinner than what you think. Okay, so we're gonna be splicing this. So the most important thing is to actually have the length that you want to use, and you have an extra. So for this particular build, that length is more than enough. Remember, we're gonna have to make knots, and that actually should be accounted for. So we take our trusty cutter, cut this, okay, and then we're gonna take off the core. Taking off the core is as simple as just pulling it out. Okay, now the length. This is what's crucial, because if you're just randomly doing something without any basis of the, you know, if you're just randomly picking a length, let's say, that's not going to work for you. Okay, and the aim here is something that's a standard, so that when you're using the same type of hook, let's say, and then a thinner piece of cord, and across different sizes, what happens is that you will have consistency. Okay, and that's very important. So from one size to another, it is proportionate. Okay, and how I do it is with a caliper. And what I do is take that length from there to the back. Okay, and in this instance, we are looking at exactly 5 centimeters. Okay, so you will actually have, yeah, your solid ring is going to be here. So 5 centimeters, and I have a caliper so that I know that each and every single time I can just measure against it, and I know that I am spot on. So without a measuring device, kind of difficult to do something of this sort. Okay, to splice this, I use a needle, and this is an ordinary sewing needle, but well, it's big. So there are sets for these where, you know, I think these are not really for embroidery, but yeah, you can get hold of this, no problem. So what I'll do is I have the pointy bit here. I will get to the midpoint, and then I will take the solid ring and install it in the midpoint, like so. Okay, so that's midpoint. I will put that there, and then I will run this end onto the eye, like so, and then splice it. So you know, with the thinner ones, it's kind of difficult to actually show you this, but now I'm able to show you what I'm doing, because this is not as tight. The tolerance for this is not as tight as the small ones. Okay, so like so, pull, and you can see that you have that. All right, now make sure that you have, now there's going to be excess. Okay, sometimes you get it perfectly, sometimes you have an excess. You cut that because you need this to be as accurate as possible. But when you're tying this, you want the lengths to be longer than what you need. All right, now go like that. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll go twice around. Okay, like so. And then what you want is to pull this tight. You measure it. You measure it first and see exactly how far it is from your target. And as you can see, that's quite far, but that's fine. Okay, that's actually fine. We have a bit of an allowance, and that is perfect. Okay, so when you tighten this, it will be on target. As you can see there, we still haven't tightened it, and there's still a bit of space. So once we tighten it, we know that we are perfect on the dot. Okay, so to tighten this, what you need to do is, remember we have two here. I've done this so many times, so I can, you know, kind of gauge whatever's perfect, and it might not be the same for you. So trial and error. But I've done so many of these that I can gauge the length, you know. After a while, you'd be able to do the same. Okay, now if we measure, you'll see that this is actually the length that we want. See, right there, from the eye to the solid ring, we have the exact length we want. Okay, so that's it. It's that simple. It is that simple. Now all that's left is actually to tie this up. Before you do that, remember that we stretched this out, and what we want is to cut this portion here at a taper. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom you in so that you can see exactly what I'm trying to say here. So when we're cutting at an angle right there, and we will cut it at an angle. Okay, cut it at an angle. Now sometimes it's easier to do that. Go ahead and do that, but cut it at an angle. Okay, so when you cut it at an angle, it means that when you are tying your binding, the transition from the binding here to the shank will be very smooth. And for this, we are going to be using a thicker fishing braid. Okay, in this case, I'm using yellow so that you guys can see it clearly. This is 0.4. Obviously, you can use 0.6 for this because this is kind of big enough. Now, let me get my glasses, actually. Okay, just so I can see better. Alright, now, at this point, what you could also do is get super glue and then glue this in. I have one here with a brush. And then I'm just gonna put it there. Okay, so a little bit of that glue, and this super glue actually doesn't dry up fast, so you can wrap it like so, and you can see the transition is actually pretty clean. Now, if you want, this is also the perfect time to put some flash if you want, but I don't put flash on the big stuff. The small stuff, yes, but for the big stuff, I stopped using flash because it doesn't really help when it's in deep water. So as you can see, the transitions are actually quite clean, and all you do now is just bind this as tight as you can and make sure that this part is not going to move. And what happens is that as the fish actually runs, this tightens even more because it's kind of like the pliers, right? So it tightens this, and that is going to make things quite solid. Okay, so that's done. You can lock it using a variety of locking nuts. Of course, you could use half hitches and whatnot. We use a whip finish for this. Okay, cut that. You could do it once, you could do it twice, up to you. And then after that, as you can see, it's very, very clean. Okay, now if there's some glue there, you can spread it. Where is that? Oh, here we go. So have a tool or a bodkin here. You know, you could just spread the glue. You could add more if you want. Doesn't matter. See there. Okay. And that's done. Now, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If this was a fast jig, it'll be positioned right there, and as you can see, that's within the neighborhood of where you want it to be actually. Okay, so it's not super optimized for this. If it was if this was a fast jig for this, or the fast jigging assist hook, mine would be slightly longer. Okay, slightly. As I said, it's not really optimized for anything or any specific jig, but it gets you at the ballpark. Now, if you're fishing somewhere, like take for example, you're traveling and you didn't carry a lot of jigs with you, and you just buy jigs there, you have assist hooks to use. Okay, and not really, you know, do the work there, but you have stuff that you know is going to work. So not 100% optimized, but you're at least 90% there. And if you have this kind of system, what happens is that the length of the cord will always be optimized for the gap that you've measured from the backmost of the hook to the front, and the length of the cord would always be directly proportional to that. So when you're doing this, which is like a size 6.0, when you do a 5.0, it's going to be slightly shorter, but directly proportional to the length of the hook, and it will be the same proportions whether it's size 1 to whatever size, and you have a bit of consistency across the board. Okay, this method also works on spade heads and honestly all the other hooks out there. It's just that we've measured it on a pike. Now obviously you need to measure the hook yourself and do it from there, and if you do that as a standard, you'll be very, very consistent from hook to hook to hook to the different models or whatever. All right, so that's a very good standard to actually use for fast jigs. Slow jigs, a little bit of a difference. All right, so that's it. Yeah, if you are new to the channel, by the way, this channel talks about the hows and whys of fishing. We cover everything from big game, ultralight, everything in the middle, including fly fishing. And today I have just